Hi, so in this video, I will be talking about mental health, specifically revolving around female athletes, but this video is open to all athletes who are interested in learning about mental health or are concerned with it. And because I will be talking about mental health in the beginning of this video, and slowly I will move to challenges that pertain more so only to female athletes. And then I will be finishing off the video talking about the Voice in Sport Foundation, which is a all-women social movement and organization. And because it's not as publicly known, doesn't make it any less of a social movement from other movements. So let's get on with the video. So the importance of mental health in athletes. For athletes, mental health can affect their performance, their decision making, and the resilience in their sport, whether their sport is physical contact or a stamina based sport like swimming and running, like cross country, for example. Um, but poor mental health can also lead to, like I said, like athletic performance, so it can lead to burnout and fatigue. And then this can also cause anxiety and stress, which affects like an athlete's focus and their reaction time, like I said, to a contact sport. And with anxiety and stress, it can induce depression if it gets that far, which then slowly leads to losing like motivation in their sport. And with like less motivation, it causes you to not want to participate, which then, as it shows, it affects participation. These are things that mental health can lead to. And then the reason why you want to have balanced mental health, being proactive about it, it's because you want to boost your focus and your emotional stability in your sport if you want to perform well. But also, don't do it just for your sport, do it for you as a human being because that is what you deserve. You deserve to feel good and not to feel down or feel stressed all the time. And creating like this emotional balance, right? You can have faster recovery and reduce risk of injuries because there are injuries that are mentally and emotionally induced. It's because it's like you get in your head. And as Troy Bolton says from High School Musical, get your head in the game, be on top of yourself, make time for yourself. And so this is like the outline of why mental health is important for an athlete. So, next is challenges faced by athletes: performance pressure, injury and recovery, identity crisis, and then balancing commitments. All these go hand in hand because with performance pressure, there's you can get that from many different sources like parents, coaches, teammates. You can get it from yourself because, for example, a lot of it does start in high school. That that even though that's not a fact, it's a common experience that I have talked about with many peers of mine because I am an athlete myself. But in high school, if you make the decision you want to play at a higher level, whether that's whether that's collegiate turned pro, you're going to think about, oh, your times, oh, like having recruiting eyes on you. You're going to think about the bigger picture and not, you're going to think about the future and not in the moment. You're just going to distract yourself a bit. So you got to try and find a way to balance both, to maintain that mental health. Um, Another challenge faced by athlete is the injury and recovery. And if you are physically injured, you're most likely going to have to take a break from your sport, like miss practices, take that time to recover. But that means you are away from your sport. So your day is more like you have more free time. You're not able to do something that you love, right? Which could potentially lead to depression, isolation. And the reason why that could lead to depression, isolation is because of identity crisis linking your self-worth to the sport. And this happens a lot with student athletes. They think of themselves as an athlete student. They only think of themselves as the sport that they play and nothing else. But you're more than your sport. That is a hard lesson to learn for many people, and I'm coming from personal experience. And um, like I said, like it shows like linking self-worth to athletic success. So if you have a bad race or a bad game, you are gonna feel a lot of guilt thinking it is your fault. But everyone everyone can have an off day. As long as you know you're putting in the work, you're doing everything you can, it just means you had an off day. Not every day is gonna be a perfect day. And then there goes into balancing commitments. That is a big challenge faced by athletes, especially ones who are currently in school, because you have the sport, you have your social life, you have your academics. That's three major like jars that you have to put an equal amount of time into. Because once you start putting a little bit more time into one other thing, it can throw off the balance. But that is something you will learn along the road throughout the years of being an athlete. So now we're going to get into the part that talks about challenges faced by female athletes. As I said in the previous part, there are pressures. You already have the pressures from your coaches, your family, yourself, teammates, like outside things as well, right? But as a female, there are body image pressures because for sports, there are um, there's an expectation of what you should look like as a female for a specific sport. For example, for running, you're expected to be very lean and very thin. As for other sports, such as basketball, like you're supposed to have like lots of muscle, like on the leg and on the arms. And if you don't look like the um, the standard, people think that will affect your performance. But that's not the case because every for athletics, every type of body is an athletic type of body. That's what I learned. And for example, there is the Olympic rugby player, Ilona. She has become very popular this year, promoting um, body positivity. And she was saying, like, look at the Olympics, there are different types of woman body types here at the Olympic level. So that is also a very good example of a woman promoting and, you know, noting the challenges that female athletes face with. Then there are the hormonal fluctuations. Women have periods, menstrual cycles, like that affects our hormones monthly, right? And if you're on types of birth control, that also affects your body as a woman and your hormones. Men don't like have to deal with that necessarily because they don't have like the productive system a woman does. They don't have the reproductive system. Um, and with the menstrual cycle, that affects mood and performance. There are like the four phases. There are the four phases, and those four phases like affect your mood as a woman. And they also affect how you feel. Like it changes, like your body changes throughout the cycle, and then that affects your performance, which is not the woman's fault. It's just how our bodies were made. Then there are cultural and gender norms as a woman or as a female. Um, we are perceived weaker when we are seeking mental health because um, we're expected to just tough it out, right? And that we don't have mental like health issues, even though that's not the case for female athletes. or for athletes in general. Everyone has mental health issues. It is not it is not a sign that you are weak if you're seeking for help. Then there are higher rates of mental issues because, as I said, with the body image pressures, it helps it pushes women to lean into having eating disorders. There are many runners who have eating disorders because they are expected to be as thin as possible, and then that can cause anxiety and depression when, as a woman, you feel that you do not match um the again, as I said, the standard of what a woman athlete should be for their respective sport. Um, and there are just like I said before, there are just pressures from society and then the biological pressures from the menstrual cycles and things that fall under that. So, barriers to mental health care for female athletes, as I said before, there is um, the stigma of us being seen as weaker for seeking mental health, but that is not the case. I guess where it is coming from is that since you are an athlete, you are strong physically, so you should be strong just as much mentally since they go hand in hand, but just because they go hand in hand doesn't mean that everything's the same. There are also time constraints, like busy schedules, right, as a female athlete, but this can also, I guess, pertain to athletes in general, having that busy schedule. I said balancing the life commitments of being, just being a human being and then being a student and then again being an athlete. Like it's just a busy schedule choosing to be in this field. Then there are limited resources for mental health services that are tailored to female athletes, um, because some female athletes will are scared that these services won't help them with what they're dealing with, or it could potentially worsen what they're dealing with, or it just doesn't have what they're looking for. And I can relate to that because um, when looking for places to pursue my athletic career, I didn't know if they had the resources that I need mentally. And that's a problem. That is an issue. And then um, that follows into the negative experiences where the service like treatment is ineffective, and it can potentially end up where the female athlete feels misunderstood or doesn't feel like she's being taken seriously. Um, and this is creating problems where we don't have where female athletes don't feel like they have a supportive or an environment that fulfills the needs and wants that they are like looking for and that they need. And why does this matter? This matters because female athletes face unique mental health challenges that cannot be ignored. And going back a bit, this is attached to the menstrual cycle because it does affect our mood. It does change who we are in the moment as a person because all of our hormones are fluctuating. Um, and female athletes are just as important in the sports community as like their male counterparts. And with that, a lot of the time they're overlooked by their male counterparts just because male sports are more popular or more mainstreamed than female sports. Um, and mental health care, like it isn't just about, decreasing the stress and the illness one faces, but it's also improving the performance and one's overall well-being because, as I said, they directly affect each other because you need one just as much as the other one. And then being proactive, like I said before, this will help athletes, whether you're being proactive yourself, like about yourself, or your your like institution or the brand you're running for is being proactive too to make change for female athletes to have the supportive environment that they are looking for. And with that, it will help not like it will help female athletes now and then future generations benefit in their careers more than they do today. Now, moving on to the final section of the video, I'm going to be talking about the Voice in Sport Foundation, and this is elevating female athletes. And in the picture, it shows that their mission is to bring more visibility to women and elevate their voice. To start off, the foundation, Voice in Sport Foundation, was founded in 2020 by Steph Strack. She is a sports executive and she was a former Division I athlete. She made the mission of VIS to advocate for and empower girls and women in sports, specifically focusing on accelerating sports science and research for the female athletes' bodies and minds, because repeating this again, mental and physical health go hand in hand with one another. And they have other like companies. They have the VIS Holdings Incorporation, and that is their sports and advocacy company. And then there is the foundation, which is the nonprofit organization. And I was a bit confused at first when learning about them because they had multiple websites that go hand in hand with one another. So I had to do a little bit more research than I anticipated. Um, and it's wait, yeah, it's little more research than I anticipated. I apologize for that. Um, so this is a little glimpse of their site setup. Um, they have so this is a organization where you can actually talk with people and meet with people like one-on-one. But there are different memberships you have to sign up for. There are, as I said, there's mentors, there are experts, those people you can talk to one-on-one. There is content like and articles talking about nutrition, talking about like stories of female athletes in present day. Um, and there's also a section that just is a little information about like who they are as a group, what they do, and they have sections where you can learn about their team. They have a few different teams. Um, they have an advisory board, they have a leadership team, and then they have an advocate leaders team. And all of the people, right, are women athletes that are either like that have competed at the collegiate, professional, and Olympic level. As you can see in one of the images, there is Allison Felix, track and field Olympian, also a mother too, so she's doing it all. A lot of these women are. And specifically for their advocate leaders team, it doesn't just pertain to the older side of these athletic women. It it fully is within the range of 13 to 23-year-olds, which is their target audience for this organization, to people that they help and interact with. Um, and I think that's really cool. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before, especially not to my knowledge. And I would learn more if I could, but I would need to sign up for it. And I don't have the time to do that yet, but I would love to just learn more about it, get a better feel of like this website, how it works, and see like all the access I can to like certain resources, right? Like to see what I could access, having like memberships and such. Um, So again, going into the goals and vision of VIS specifically, from the website, they want to amplify voices of girl and of female, like of girls and women, right? Talk about equality for the, whole entire like sports community. Because as I said before, men's sports are just more popular because they have been more mainstream for a lot longer than women's sports. So, having that equality, addressing gender disparities in sports, leveling the playing field, like for example, like women athletes, a lot, like especially at the professional level, a lot of them are paid less than their male counterparts. But they also want to support female athletes, you know, help them with the mental health, the nutrition, the sports science, because with mental health and physical health going hand in hand, you want to like make sure your body feels good because physically when you feel good, you can start to emotionally, mentally feel good about yourself. So they want to give the resources they are able to and then find more or create more resources for women. And with that, they want to inspire change to create a positive culture shift into how us like we as female athletes are perceived and supported. So trying to help us more, give us, you know, just give us what we believe we deserve, get us to where we can eventually be, you know, equal with the men. Um, so some programs they have, as I said, for their platform, they have the member only community for ages 13 to 23. That's their main audience. And that's where you can sign up for different memberships. I haven't been able to exactly look at like specific memberships because I would need to start my sign up. But I do know that they offer mentorship and expert advice. And as I said, with the articles and content they have, it's for educational purposes because they want to help as many women as they can, like help as many people as possible. Then they have their advocate program, which, um, you know, allows girls and women to, promote inclusion, diversity, and equality in sports, you know, make sure everything is fair. And then they have their research and education, which is the more science side of it, focusing on the body and mind of a female athlete. And then, as I said before, with the menstrual cycle, they really want to help educate girls on that so they know like how they can take care of themselves, proactive things they can do, because um this puberty for females, it's different for everyone. But with this website, you can find a culmination of everything and then like grab and learn what like you need or what you want. And then they also have partnerships just with just with, you know, super like the more known female athletes, like the Olympians and then the professionals, like they have those partnerships. Then their membership and community, as I said before, audience is women like are girls in sports ages 13 to 23. And then ref- just restating the membership benefits, and that's being able to speak with people like one on one if you want. Whether and that's like that's where the expert advice comes in from the professional collegiate athletes, and you can specify it to what you want. You can like have psychology advice, nutrition and health advice, and then mental and emotional advice. Um, or just, physical advice because you are an athlete. Or like this does pertain to female athletes. And then you are have access to content is that pertains to this organization specifically. Nowhere else, only the women that are a part of this community, part of this foundation. And then just this whole entire website is like a full like engaged experience because you get to read about the creators, you get to read about like the mentors and experts that have been a part of this since the beginning. And you can see if you want to become a part of this community yourself and be an advocate for it. Like, spread the message and then make this foundation more self-aware, which is something I want to look into, personally speaking. Um, but that is, I believe that's all for that. Oh, never mind. We have to talk about why this matters. BIS matters because it addresses the gender inequality in the sports community. Um, you know, if you want to make a change, you have to address it first. So that's why they have the advocacy team because that's their job to help, promote this this movement. It then also supports. It's clear it supports mental and physical health with what they provide for you right there, and then when you sign up for membership. And as I said earlier, this movement will and is going to help athletes today and then future generations, you know, saying, yes, you have a voice, you can use it, you know, let's let's move along and like get to where we can be one day, which is equal with and just having like an equal playing field for all people in the sports community. Um, so thank you for listening to this video. I hope you learned something and, you know, start to be proactive with your mental health. And yeah, stay healthy.